Hey guys, it's Troy here. Wanted to share with you the latest pen haul between the Triangle Pen Show, which I went to yesterday, and it's still ongoing today, but I don't think I'm going to be able to go today because I'm home sitting with my 9-year-old and my 7-year-old while the wife is off doing some church activities. But hey, that's life. At least we got to go yesterday for almost 4 hours, and quite honestly, it wore out my 9-year-old. He was snoozing on the way home. But, you know, even before we did the whole pen show thing, the mail in the morning brought several things to my desk. One of the things I wanted to share with you was a pen that I had gotten from a Kickstarter campaign. I'm not much necessarily on some Kickstarters, but I saw one from Inso. I'm assuming that's how it is pronounced because it says E with a little line over it, NSSO. They had a Kickstarter campaign for essentially a tool pen. So if you've seen the Monteverde tool pen, which I've shown you here before, then this will look a little familiar, same kind of idea, but very different presentation and concept. So it came in a plastic bag, which I'm sitting here fiddling with, trying to get open, and I have not used this pen yet. But what they've done is they have taken a triangle, sort of like a drafting ruler concept, and they've put different measurement scales on it. I chose to go with the scale that had both imperial and metric on it because you had your choice. All right, so this is actually the cap to the pen. So it'll sit on your desk. It's not going to roll anywhere, and you pull out, and you've got a metal. An all metal, I'm assuming that's aluminum, black aluminum fountain pen. And you unscrew and it does have a converter to it. I have not inked it up. I have not tried it yet because I've been kind of busy here lately. But when you're done with it, you slide it back into that triangle. And you hold it. It's okay. It's not too short for my use. It's slender. But when you slide it in, it just sits in there. It doesn't snap into place or anything like that. It doesn't have an airtight seal or anything like that. So I went ahead and picked it up. We'll see how it does. I'll give it a try. It's probably going to be a desk pen, if anything, if I ink it up and use it. So other than being a novelty, it's more or less something for utilitarian use on a desk. In addition to that, I also got a package yesterday morning from Anderson Pens. So I was hoping to see Anderson Pens out at the Triangle Pen Show, but I didn't see them there this year at all. But I did get, let's see, a Venus nib, an Esterbrook Renew Point nib, both in broad. So I've got those. For those of you like vintage Esterbrooks, that's one of the things I love about Esterbrooks is you can change out the nibs. I've got some Esterbrooks that have some fine point that are like extra fine, almost like writing with a needle, and I really don't like them. And there's plenty of different nibs from which to choose, and I happened to spot a few on their website, and so I snatched up a couple. Matter of fact, while I was at the pen show yesterday, I found another one. I personally tend to like, from experience, the broad nibs. And you can find all this esterbrook.net. You can find what all the nibs are, what the nib number codes mean, and what kind of points they are. And I actually copied and pasted that information into my personal fountain pen spreadsheet that I use on a daily basis. So I've got a tab at the bottom of that spreadsheet with all that Esterbrook nib info, so I can keep that handy. But I did pick one up at the Triangle Pen Show because there was one guy out there, and these were actually fairly cheap. He was selling them for like $7 a pop. I was like, hey, cool. And I only really found one that was on the list. I literally printed out that sheet I just told you about and highlighted the ones I was interested in and was looking for those that he had. So along with those two Esterbrook nibs that showed up in the mail from Anderson Pens, I got a new Waterman. So this is probably from the 1990s or so. I don't know if it was new old stock or what. Let me see if they describe it as... No, they just say Waterman Maestro fountain pen, gloss black with gold trim. And that's what this is. It is a cartridge converter pen. It's fairly slender, and it is a modern Waterman, so I'm adding that to my collection. I've always liked the black and gold. Together they make a great trim, very classy, and it's got a fairly small nib to it. and I have already, it did come with a cartridge, so I just went ahead and slapped that blue cartridge on in, and it's writes a little on the fine side, which I'm not a great fan of the concept, but it is probably a fine nib, and it is reliable once I got ink down in and started flowing. So, alright, so let me show you some of the stuff that I picked up at the Triangle Pen Show. Matthew wanted to do this video. He's outside actually having a water fight with his little brother, and I figured I'd take the time while they're doing that and not inside the house causing a ruckus. But we picked up this. It was a poster that Matthew was intrigued by for the Parker Sonnet. And there was a guy selling a bunch of pen posters and old advertising. And so Matthew was carrying this around for a while until one of the vendors said, "You want me to hold on to that for you so you don't have to keep carrying it around?" So I thought that was pretty neat. I got a couple of Waterman advertisements that were probably used in stores here on my wall, and now we've got that poster board for an advertisement of the Parker Sonnet. It was a good looking poster, I thought. Matthew is one of those kids. I mean, he didn't have any money with him this time because he made a purchase with his own money here recently, and he had zero except pocket change to spend at the pen show. And quite honestly, I didn't have a tremendous amount of cash, but at least I did come prepared to make a purchase or two that I'll share with you in just a minute. But somebody did give him a pen, and this particular one I believe is a Hero. Let me take a look at it again. Yep, it is a Hero, so it's an inexpensive Chinese fountain pen. One of the things that Matthew did not do this year is complete the scavenger hunt. Every pen show we've been to, he's done for the Pen Collectors of America. They have a children's scavenger hunt, and he got like 2/3 of the way through, and he just gave up. I mean, he's done it like 3 or 4 times already, and he was getting kind of you know, those Snickers commercials where you're not yourself when you're hungry. Well, he's not himself when he's bored, because I go to a pen show and I go to see people, meet people, and for some people this is a tremendous interactive and a tremendous social event. It is for me somewhat. I got to meet some people that I had been wanting to talk to, and I met some new people, and I'm the kind of guy, I'll stand there, if I'm learning something new especially, I'll stand there and I'll talk for quite a while, and I bored Matthew to tears. But it was neat talking to some vendors who were extremely knowledgeable, looking at all they had, finding out how much they were charging for each to see if it was something that I wanted. But quite honestly, I already had my eyes and my sights set on something that I wanted. So the more I talked to other people, the more I went, nah, no, I kind of like what I'd already seen earlier, and I think that's the direction I'm going to go. But that's what Matthew got. So he didn't get his free pen for completing the scavenger hunt. But I didn't go whole hog on stuff. I still spent more than I had planned on, quite honestly. I did get just a Rhodia dot pad, and you'll probably see me using that here in just a little bit. But I got one Waterman in the mail. I got 2 more Watermans from the pen show. So, here we go. I was talking to one gentleman who we had actually a lot in common because we worked in kind of the same industry, only he did something very different than what I did as a contractor. And now full-time he just does pen shows all over the world. And we stood there and we talked for quite a while. And his name is Cliff. And he had a tremendous selection of Watermans. And I even had to stop and take a picture. I said, "Do you mind if I take a picture? I would love for my Waterman collection to look like this." And he had some nice vacuumatics. He had a great PFM collection. Look at those PFMs. So I'm looking at all these Watermans that he's got, and I'm thinking, wow, look at some of these. There were some that there's no way I was going to be able to afford. But there's others I looked at, okay, I might be able to. I actually got to see some that I'd only seen in books or online, in pictures, on websites. That was kind of neat. But some that I've been chasing down, like this one. This is a Waterman 452. And this has got black chased hard rubber, well actually black hard rubber with a silver filigree overlay to it. It is a lever filler. From back in Waterman's heyday, 1920s, 1930s, all in there. But I've been seeing these, and this one was just in fantastic condition. I mean, the silver and the pattern, excellent shape, excellent condition. So I went ahead and I snatched this one up, and he actually made me kind of a deal on that one and this one together. This particular one is a glass cartridge. So in the 1930s, Waterman actually had cartridge-filled pens, but the cartridges were made out of glass, so they weren't made out of plastic. So I will show you what this looks like. I mean, you're probably more familiar with one of these because it is more standard in how it looks and how it acts. And a beautiful number 2 flexible nib on this thing with a lever filler. Well, these are a little less common. So you've got your, I'm assuming that's like a celluloid body on it from the 1930s. And this one actually has a number 3 nib on it that says it was made in France. So this is probably for the French market. They had some that were for the English market. But you got to be careful when you open these, but I will open it. It's spring loaded. There's a spring in here, and that spring can actually pop out. Now I'm going to tilt it this way, and that cartridge is already in there. I've already inked this thing up, and there's a little rubber seal at the top. But I've inked this up already with Waterman Serenity Blue. There, I popped it back in. It is seated, and it is spring loaded, so you're going to see like that. And it screws on the bottom. So, just like you're familiar with probably a cartridge inside an ink pen, like I showed you in that modern one, you get a number 3 nib. So, these were my scores for the Triangle Pen Show 2019. So let me show you the 3 that I've got inked up. These 2 and the more modern Waterman, the Maestro. Let's see how they write. Alright, so let's check these out in the order in which I showed them to you. This is the Waterman Maestro, and cap snaps on the post very nicely. So this one has more of a fine nib, but so let's see how it goes. The Waterman, the Maestro. It's got a fine nib to it. You're not going to get a lot of flex and a lot of variation out of it. It's just a little bit scratchy, just a hair on the scratchy side. So I may actually spend a little bit of time and smooth this one out. It doesn't write horrendous, but not just not quite as smooth as I want it to be. It can be a little bit better. So I may just spend a little bit of time, and this was just the cartridge that came with it, and it is a blue ink. So I don't know what Waterman blue is in that cartridge. It wasn't marked because it was just a cartridge. So, but anyway, it's been reliable since I've been playing with it, since I filled it up every time I've picked it up to go write with it. It is written first time every time so far. But then again, I've only had it like a day, so been picking it up throughout the course of a day. All right, so let's. I showed you this one first. So let me see if I can get you a really good. See if I can show that at the tip there. If not, I'll try to get you a better photograph. But post it, absolutely, and it is secure. So let's give her a shot. A Waterman. Actually, at this time, Watermans. This is a 452. It's got the flex nib. As you can see, look at that. Nice, good amount of flex to it. It's actually fairly smooth. And I put some Waterman's Intense Black in this one. It's a fairly wet writer, and so far it's been doing me good since I've gotten it. You can go very fine, very fine, fine, very fine. So what I've been playing with it to see how little pressure I can get by with putting down, and I've been just barely letting it touch. Yeah, you gotta apply just a tiny bit of pressure in order to get a line. Some of them, you can actually just let it under its own weight. There you go. It'll draw some. So that's how I like to play with them, to see how well the nib is responsive. But that's just me. Maybe it's not just me. All right. So nice filigree, beautiful looking silver. I was impressed. Okay, y'all. Let me go ahead and show you how that Waterman cartridge filler, that glass cartridge filler, writes. Got to be honest with you. I like the pen itself. I like how it looks. I mean, it's really nice, really clean. The imprint is still pretty good. But as far as its performance, actually a little disappointed. So, I had it inked up. I got it writing at first. And look. This is what I get. Let me get some little ink trying to flow through it. And each time that I've gotten it writing and it was doing well, it seems to have an ink flow issue. So I can see about trying to get it to flow ink. Right now, just not doing it. So I'm going to have to spend some time figuring out what the problem is. Go ahead and clean out that nib, maybe give it a really good flushing, see if there's any flow issues, anything. Because, it's been restored, so it shouldn't have any problems, but that remains to be seen. And maybe I can try some other glass cartridges, if I can get my hands on them, to see if anything like that would be an issue with the way that cartridge fits in there. Don't know. I have seen where a converter or a cartridge sometimes, if you change it out, would make a difference. But I'll give it a good flushing here sometime soon. I can tell you, I did monkey with it when I did get it writing, and here is some of how it wrote. Once I got it going, I could write with it some, but still, it still had some problems. It still was getting ink starved. So, just wanted to share that with you. Now, also, that Inso that I showed you. That's got the tool pen concept, where it's got some scales on it for architects and engineering. This whole thing is machined out of like aircraft grade aluminum. I did finally go ahead and ink it after I had done the initial recording. So I wanted to show you what that has. And it's got a black number 5 medium nib. So I did go ahead and ink it up. So it was an ENNSO. And this has got a number 5 steel nib. And it actually, it writes fairly well. It's not the smoothest in the world. It's definitely not scratchy. It's not problematic. You're not going to get any real variation out of it, but it's been reliable ever since I've inked it up. So far so good. So I can't complain too much about it. Would I buy this thing all over again? Probably not. I saw it for like 50, 65 bucks. I'm trying to remember. I think it was like 50 bucks or so. I was able to get this, and supposedly that's half a retail. So would this retail for $100 and me pay for it? Definitely not. 50 bucks, all right, maybe. That's pushing it. It's going to be a desk pen. It's not something that you're going to carry with you every day. It's something that you can throw in a briefcase, but like I said, this doesn't sit securely. You've got the name here on the end of the pen, and it's relatively short, still usable, and like this is just going to sit on my desk. So I've already got a desk pen, but this is going to become another desk pen. Not a bad pen. Just for 50 bucks, okay, maybe, and maybe even overpriced a little bit at 50. But definitely, if that's supposed to be half off what their retail is going to be, there's no way I'd pay $100 for it. I can tell you that. But so anyway, there you go. So I've got some work to do on this one right here, and I actually like the look. The more I look at this since I've purchased it, the more I like the pattern that's on it. Believe it or not, I've got another Waterman though coming in the mail.